His velvet voice may be as unique as his name, and according to him, Las Vegas is where he made his name. Engelbert Humperdinck is our guest this week on Nevada Week in Person.
Support for Nevada Week in Person is provided by Senator William H. Hernnstadt and other supporters.
Welcome to Nevada Week in Person. I'm Amber Renee Dixon, joining you from Westgate, Las Vegas, where on October 2nd and 3rd, our esteemed guest will be performing. Born in British India and raised in Leicester, he built a global fan base off his emotional ballads. His breakthrough hit in 1967 was Release Me, and that was around the same time he began performing right here in Las Vegas. Engelbert Humperdinck, thank you so much for joining
That's a
Nevada
lovely
Week
intro.
in
Thank you
Person.
very much.
Well, and I could have gone on and on. Las Vegas, what has this meant to your career, this city?
Well, it is the capital entertainment city of the world, and I think anybody who comes to Las Vegas has to have the talent to be a performer over here. Otherwise, you know, they hit the road, Jack. You know, I had the pleasure of coming here very early in '67. A gentleman drove me around to find out which hotel I wanted to play, and we ended up at the Riviera. And I played there for 9 years, and luckily enough, no empty seats.
And you had your name on the marquee.
Yeah.
How did that come to be?
Unbelievable. I was standing there looking out the window, and I saw them putting my name up on the marquee. I cannot begin to tell you what my stomach was doing at that particular time. You know, I mean, I was brand new to the entertainment world, as big as it was, you know, being in Las Vegas, and to look out and see my name going out in big letters was unbelievable. And as a matter of fact, there was a guy who wrote a joke about my name going up on the marquee, and it said, there's always an accident where Engelbert's marquee is. He says, Engelbert's all right, but his Humperdinck, his Humper's all right, but his dink keeps falling off.
Okay, interpret that as you will.
Whatever you want to do with it.
Take me back to that time, though, because that was new success for you, and you had had some tough years prior.
Oh, my Lord. It took me a long, they said I had an overnight success, but it took me from 17 to 29 years, when I was 29 before I became successful, before I had a hit record. I started recording in around 29, 30, when I was 30. And I never thought I was going to find myself. I really didn't, you know, because when I recorded Release Me, it sat on the shelf for about 3 months, and I thought, this is a hit record, I don't understand it. Then all of a sudden, my manager said, you're going to do the Sunday night at the London Palladium. I did the Palladium, and the very next day, it started selling like 80,000, 90,000 a day. And I kept calling up him saying, how did we sell today? He said, we did 127,000 today. And yeah, I can't begin to tell you, it broke all records that particular year. And it stopped the Beatles from having their 13th #1. And it's in the Guinness Book of Records. And it was #1 around the world. So, but the message of Release Me is so sort of negative. Please release me, let me go. I don't love you anymore. But people love that song.
This room that we're in, we are in the Elvis suite at Westgate, Las Vegas, which you have stayed here yourself, but you also knew Elvis personally. How would you describe your relationship with him?
To be honest with you, when I first met him, you know, normally people just shake hands. And when I first met him, the first thing he ever did was he embraced me, you know, and he gave me a hug. And I thought, wow, that's incredible coming from Elvis, you know. And he came to see my show when I was working at the Riviera. And he came backstage, and that's how we first met. But his appearance over there, I told him, I said, please let Elvis come in when the lights go down. I said, I don't want too many distractions. Sure. And he came in when the lights went down. He sat down, but the buzz was around Elvis, and was in the showroom. And when I did introduce him, it took me 10 minutes to quieten the audience down. in the end, I said, Elvis, this is my show. You know? And of course, I brought out one of my big guns, and it helped to quiet the audience down, and which means a big song, right? You know?
Right.
And it was just incredible.
Would you describe that relationship as friendly or a rivalry?
Oh, no rivalry, no, nothing like that, no. It was most friendly, it was friendly.
And he learned some things from you, and you learned some things from him?
Well, I would say I learned more from him than he learned from me, because I think he was much bigger, his status was much bigger than mine, you know. And he was the #1 in the world. And when I went to see his show, I mean, I took notes. I stole a lot of things from him, you know. And they say, if you're going to steal something, steal from the best. And I stole from the best. And I didn't mind that. Nothing too much like him, but little things that he did, because he never took his image seriously. You know, he always made fun of his image, which I thought, that's so wonderful, you know. And I did the same. I do the same thing, because I got a funny name of #1 that I can play with, you know. But I did what he did. You know, he never took his image seriously, and I was very thrilled about that.
Tell me how you got your name.
I got my name because I tried under my real name, which was Arnold George Dorsey. I changed to Jerry. That didn't work, and I had that for a number of years. And then I got Gordon Mills, who was my manager at the time, and he was also handling Tom Jones. And he said to me, he said, if I'm going to handle you, he says, you're going to have to change your name. He says, I'm going to look for one. And he found Engelbert Humperdinck. And I said, how come you gave me the long name? He gave him the short and small name. But you know, nevertheless, I took a name that was as long as that and turned it into a romantic image. I'm very proud of that fact.
That was your only response, that it's that long? What about how unique it was?
It was very unique. I mean, people used to take in and make fun of it. You know, they call me Pumpernickel and Humper. As a matter of fact, Dean Martin, he never ever called me by Engelbert or Inch or anything like that. He always called me Humpy Bumpy Lumpy Dumpy. I loved him for that.
I have seen a sign that said, you've been Humperdincked, made your last name into a verb, but that was from the past. I don't know. I think there are a lot of creative things that people must have done with your name.
I mean, this hotel is all, whenever I appear here, they have a drink in my honor over here. They called it a Humperdinck. And it's a cocktail that they've made up, and I'm so thrilled that, you know, people do things with my name.
Yeah. You describe yourself as thespian of music. What does that mean to you?
Well, a lot of people who get on stage and sing, they just sing it and with technique and this and that. I try to act the song more than I feel the song and act it as if it was a script, because the lyrics mean something, and you have to portray it as if you are acting in a movie. But the funny thing is, you know, when you read a lyric, prior, a few years ago, before, when I read a lyric, I read it differently to what I'm reading it now, because for the simple reason, about 4 years ago, I lost my darling wife, you know, and ever since she's been gone, I read lyrics a lot differently. They're more heartfelt and more, because everything seems to go in her direction, you know, and like, and it does make a difference, you know, and so therefore I read a lot differently now. You know, she was my backbone to my career, and she was, you know, everywhere I went, you know, she always backed me up, and she made a terrific job of raising the children, you know, and she was a housewife.
You miss her.
I miss it very much.
Tell me also about your relationship with performing. It seems almost like you can't live without it.
No, I can't live without it. This is something, I mean, at the beginning of this year, I was off for a few weeks, and and it just drove me up the wall. I didn't know what to do with myself. I have to be on the road, and I have to be on that stage, and I have to be performing. And I've been fortunate enough to have a great audience. You know, my audience are very staunch, and I want to say that over the years I've had 300 fan clubs around the world. You know, and maybe not so much these days, because you know, when I first started, it was rampant. We get the way you got
wild.
So yeah, crazy, and that's when I first came to Vegas as well. You know, but Vegas has taught me a lot, because when I've come here, I've seen names on the marquee that I've admired over the years, and I'm able to get to see their shows and see what they do. You know, and because it's not easy for me when I used to live in England. You know, to see shows of any caliber that, you know, the Vegas showed, and it was nice to come here and see that and learn a lot from them.
The last thing I want to ask you about is the experience you had in this room when you stayed in the Elvis suite.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
Well, I did a special when I was here. I was playing here. It was in 1982. Did a fantastic, one of my best specials I did right here, and but after Elvis had passed, and I was booked in this particular hotel, and I stayed in his suite. I was up here, and it was a lot different to this. They rearranged everything here, but with Elvis's suite, there was something there that was unbelievable, and it had an atmosphere about it. It had some kind of a feeling about it, you know. When I went to bed, the first night I stayed in this hotel, in his bedroom, there was a lamp that you turn the light on like this, and I'm watching the TV, so I turned the light off. Boom, the light came on again. So I turned it off because I was watching TV. The light came on 3 times. The light, it did that, you know. And then the jacuzzi was not far from me. It was behind the lattice door, and that jacuzzi came on 6 times during that night. Boo, boo, you know. And so I said to myself, Elvis, I'm your friend. What are you doing to me, you know? And then the next week I was going to Hawaii, and so I thought, why don't I do a song that Elvis did in Hawaii called The Wedding Song? So I sent one of my guys out to get a tape, because and today you could just look it up on your phone, and then those days you had to get a tape and get a pad and write the lyrics down. I said, buy me the tape. I said, and I could take the lyrics down, and perhaps my arranger can do an arrangement of it over here. So he went out, he got the tape, he brought it in here. He had the machine, we put it into the machine. It was ready to put the lyrics down. And the machine was a good machine. It just ate the tape.
Oh.
Ate the tape. And all the lights went out. My God, my hair stood up like this, you know. I said, Elvis, come on now, you know. But that's what happened on my very first night over here in the suite. But I think he was just making himself known, that, you know, or make me feel that, you know, this was my suite, you know. Elvis, it's always been your suite now. You know. So I'm going to say that it was quite an experience for me.
I'll say. Engelbert Humperdinck, thank you so much for joining Nevada
My
Week
pleasure.
in Person.
My pleasure. So nice of you to do that.